So this year's Toycember is focusing on things that I normally wouldn't cover, things that are a little bit more unusual, even for the Toycember route, and something I almost never review. In fact, I can only remember doing this once before, is Lego. So I figured this is a good time to throw out a Lego review. Why not? And it's going to be the hot one of the season, which is the Lego Game Boy that I see literally everywhere now, and for good reason. Now, just for the sake of the Lego collectors out there, I don't usually cover Lego, just to put that out into the universe. So I know Lego diehards look for certain things in reviews. They want to know what bricks are unique to this set, what colors haven't been produced before that they can get bricks of for other builds, how many a certain brick are in the set because they are rare or, extra useful in other parts and builds and whatever. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea. I am not a huge Lego, nerd, for lack of a better term. But I do love my Lego. I just don't pay attention to such things. We're going to focus on the toy itself once it is fully built. Though I will say the build of this was actually really, really cool. I mean, if you look around, you really don't see much actual Lego brick that has survived the construction. And by that, I mean all the studs have been covered up. There's very few gaps. The ones that are left are completely intentional. It's a really, really well done, smooth finish to the entirety of the piece. If I remember right, you're looking like somewhere around 600 bricks for this thing for about $60, which is right about in the ballpark. Maybe a few bricks less. I'm going off of memory, which might be faulty. Doesn't matter. This thing was a fun build. There's a lot of interesting ways of construction, a lot of things going in sideways that I wouldn't have expected. And the end result is a pretty good representation of the original Game Boy. Like having it in my hands here, the proportions might be just a little bit off from how I remember. Granted, I have not held a big brick Game Boy in a long time, so I'm going with what my memory can do, which we've, as previously stated, might be screwing up. So, I will say it feels familiar. This feels like the right size, this feels like the right shapes. And they went through a lot of trouble to make sure a lot of this was correct. You have the curve to the gray section here, which is accurate to the original. The downslope here on the speakers in the corner, that is accurate to the original. If we go around to the side, you have the earphone jack right there, which is really cool, the contrast here. Actually, I can't remember. Okay, headphone jack is actually the bottom. That is the AC cable, which is a weird spot to have that cable now that I think about it. No, speakers down here, so you have that port, which is conveniently the port that you plug in order to put it on the stand. Over here, you got the volume knob, as well as the extension connector. This is for the link cable, if you want to trade Pokemon with somebody, or play the rare two-player games on Game Boy. It used to have a cover. Everyone lost the cover. This is the cover, technically. And then the top and the back all look the part, too. This is printed on the little tab for the battery door, so you can't really open that. But it does have the ribbed feel to it. So that was your friction to hold on to it a little bit better. The nice finish to this is not just in the visible, it's the function of everything. There is a bounce to the D-pad. So, it doesn't feel as tight as the original, but it does function. You can move and press the D-pad down. You can press the start and select buttons. This is just done with rubber circular pieces, which is a really clever way to do it. And then these are on little rubber bands inside, so they have a spring to them. You can actually press the B and A buttons, and it feels like the B and A buttons. Maybe a little bit softer than you remember. They don't have that sudden bunk that you expect, but it's a close approximation. It feels really, really nice. Gives it a good toy feel to it. If I go over here, the contrast knob actually does rotate, so there's obviously no way to control contrast. It's one picture, but you know what I mean. The volume knob does work as well. That all rolls pretty well. And then we get to the top where, the on-off switch works. And it actually has like a satisfying chunk to it, the way it's designed. So you actually feel like you were turning it on and off. That is actually correct. Really neat. Like, yeah, like they've done a lot to make sure not only the look is accurately represented, but the feel of it as well. So that's just like part of the cool part. Let's get a cartridge out. And here's the fun thing. There's grip. So you see you see the little hinges, the little half hinges there. If I take this off, you're going to see that everything clips in, and those clips are going to attach in like so, and you can hear that little snap. And that gives you that resistance you expect when you put an actual Game Boy cartridge in. And just for the flavor of it, the gold here links up with the gold inside there to look like the actual circuit board connection. That's really good. That's really good. Little touches like that is why I really, really like when LEGO does things like this. Coincidentally, the little cartridge build is pretty simple. You know, they didn't bother covering up anything on the back because it's either going to be on display or it's going to be inside the Game Boy. But this is all one big sticker recreation of the original cover of the game. Nicely done. It, again, looks the part. It's got the notch in the shoulder, just like it should have. So, this is a pretty good representation. It gets better, though. It gets better. Let's bring out the other display stand. I'm going to go ahead and pop this back on the right way up. That would actually help. So you get another display stand, which is going to hold your spare cartridge. In this case, it's Super Mario Land. I would not doubt that someone out there is already concocting other labels so you can swap in whatever game you want. If these really are correct scale, you can just get a repro label from another game if you want it to be like Pokemon, though you'd have to replace the bricks for that, so maybe not that one. But again, it clicks into place to hold on to it, and in the back, you have a little slot to hold extra lenticular sleeves. So, you get this one, which is the startup screen for any Game Boy, and then you get the other ones, which is, so you have Super Mario Land, which, yeah, okay, so you get like a simple lenticular effect. And then if I take this out, you don't actually have to pop that section off, but it helps. Let me go ahead and take that down, and then that's how you retrieve the one that was in there. And you have probably one of the most famous scenes from Link's Awakening, where it's him and Marin on the beach. Really cool, really, really cool. So the fun part here is LEGO, being incredibly clever toy designers, have taken advantage of the lenticular to actually recreate the ghosting effect that the original Game Boy screen had. This might be intentional. This might be just them conveniently using a lenticular effect that had the exact same style of ghosting that the screen did. Either way, it adds to the overall feel. It adds to the overall experience. It's a great little touch. I presume it is intentional because it just seems too good not to be. Go ahead and close that back up. I'm going to pop the panel back into place and then slot in the game. There's the click. And we're back to playing on the Game Boy with a brand new game this time. It's set pretty deep in there, but with some lighting in the room, you can still see it pretty easily. Yeah, this is such a good set. So, yeah, if you've been on the fence, because it's $60 for what is, essentially a pretty small set, but if you are an old school gaming fan, this is a must-have. Like, I didn't even have to convince you. You've probably already got it. But it's those little touches, the functioning buttons, the tactile feel to the cartridges, the lenticular effect creating the ghosting. It's all those little things that make this a really, really special experience and very, very nostalgic for anyone who grew up with the original video game handheld. So, I'm going to leave it at that. If you want the brick count, the unique parts, etc., you need to go look up somewhere else. Me, I just like it to be a really cool take on the Game Boy. So that's it for me for Toycember today. Join me tomorrow. We still have more than a week to go. We'll see what I got cooking then.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.